Going on, everybody, Adachi here, and today I want to talk about things I'd like to see change in Etheria, as well as going into a little in depth on one major thing that I think is going to be pretty divisive. We're starting off here because one thing I'd love to see is a little bit easier to swap gear, especially when we're already, well, primarily when we're already in stages. Right now you can check details, you can see the gear on characters, but you can't swap it whatsoever while you're already in this screen. So now we have to back out, go find our characters and whatever, and then change it all around there. Is this the biggest deal? Not really, but it would be a lot more convenient when we're jumping around into different stages and we have to swap around a million different sets. And which would bring up the next point, which is that we need to make the team presets actually useful, and these should save gear on them, period. Otherwise, there's really no reason for them to function. The only use case I can think of now, which I'd brought up before, is that you can save it so that way you know what team cleared something. But that doesn't mean you know what gear was on those characters even to begin with, so you might know the characters, but you don't have the rest of the puzzle now. So this should save gear. That one use case is very niche, and you'd have to remember to do it every time, so in my opinion, not worth it. Tie gear onto team presets, please. Next up is, and we'll look at this a few times, is refunding all of your stamina on a loss or on a restart. So if you don't already know this, I'll see if I can show it a little bit here in the middle of this match. And yes, I'm using Sonya cheese, game balance and whatnot. No, you can't do it here. So usually you can hit the pause button though, and there'll be a little restart button that you can click. That button actually consumes 1 stamina each time you use it, so it counts it as a fail, so you have to reset. And this, it's just 1 stamina, so it's not the biggest deal. Obviously, you can see by my auto clear rates that I don't care as much about losing a little bit of stamina, but it does deter people from actually trying out different combinations and trying out different teams or different gear comps to actually clear things. It just really disincentivizes people actually trying out different alternative methods, or just bashing their head against something until they find something that works. Next up is clear history. This game, it's not balanced well in my opinion. One thing that I think could benefit a lot, because there's so many different things you have to clear with such varied different teams with very specific units and setups, they really should offer some kind of an option to actually see your clear history. So obviously we can look at other people's clears, that's great, and this is already a fantastic feature, love it. But what would also be great is being able to see what the hell I actually cleared something with. Like, I already know what I cleared this with, but let's say I go over to... Actually, one you can technically is anti-sync echoes. If you actually go to your profile, you will be able to see the teams that you cleared anti-sync echoes with. You just won't be able to see the gear, but I think that's fine enough. This is more so a problem that I ran into personally when it comes to Aurora. I do not have a fine or a really defined and set up team for Aurora. I'm constantly swapping around to try different things in it. So if I go back to a Hell 4 clear, I don't even know what the hell team I was using. I don't know what gear was on them. I have no clue. I'm just gonna have to kind of shoot my shot in the dark here with whatever I've got built around, because I built many different units to try and do different things with Aurora. Hopefully I have some old footage here to throw in the back on this one, but Fearless Arena and spectating. Holy shit, this is one of the dumbest features I've ever seen in what is supposedly considered like a competitive little bracket, like simulating these mini tournaments. So if you do not already know, this mode really incentivizes you to clear or to kill your opponent as fast as possible or make them rage quit. The faster you end up finishing out a match, the faster you can go and spectate other people's matches. You can go and watch what teams they have set up, what their best units are, or what comps that they try to aim for, maybe whatever their best or their most team-defining units are going to be. And that is already like such huge information when it comes to drafting, when, you know, like 90% of the battle is going to be just drafting better than your opponent. This issue will get alleviated over time as people's rosters continue to build out and diversify, but regardless, it just seems ridiculous to have in a competitive feature. I think that if you want to spectate matches or do something else in between, then it should be for like an entirely separate bracket, not your own. It's ridiculous. Part of this problem is because the bracket is so tiny. I mean, imagine, well, I guess maybe most people can't imagine, but if you've ever played at like a card game tournament, when you go to like really big ones, there's like 100+ tables, you know, you can't just go and scout out your opponent. But here, there's only a couple of people to go check out. It's not difficult whatsoever. All right, stepping into something everybody can appreciate, let's talk about event clarity, or the lack thereof. So I wish I had a screenshot of it before, but this used to be, which one was it? I don't remember if it was the Wish Orb specifically. One of these things used to say Dragon Ball straight up. They did not say Wish Orb, so I wish I'd caught that because I was like, I'm pretty sure they fucked something up and it didn't look good, but yeah, it said like Dragon Balls instead of Wish Orbs. But besides that, one of the big things here, and it is worded like very obscurely, so if you go here, it says gather 7 to make a wish. For people who have now already played the event, we already understand how it works now. But you see here, there's like just this thing that says collect more wish orbs to enhance your wish rewards. And I mean, it's simple enough, but what are the details of that? What does that even mean? Everybody just waited for everybody else to actually redeem their shit to figure out how this exactly works. Next to that, they have all these little NPCs, which you'll run into eventually playing through the event. But again, there's like a lack of knowledge. Like there's these selecting dice where you can pick how many spaces you want to walk. But if you don't know or don't remember what the hell each one of these guys does, then it's kind of wasted. This is easily alleviated by just having a legend or a key or something to say what all these guys do, or to click on them and give you details. And this is kind of prevalent in all the events where there's just a huge lack of what players should be able to already know. Like here personally, I think the Rumble quest, I think this is only accumulating daily. I don't know if this actually accumulates if you do more runs in a day. I'm not sure if it only counts the 1 or if it counts the 5. I've no clue. All right, going back into my auto runs, there is one feature here that is kind of nice, but my problem with the auto runs in general is the lack of like a snapshot of your run or being able to set skill priorities. So one thing that is good and useful, and in my opinion kind of unnecessary, is you can change your auto attack order settings, so who you're going to have all of your teammates focus while it's auto running per wave, which is neat. But for a player, it'd be so much easier if we just had, like, in my opinion, a snapshot of a run would be so much nicer. And then at that point, it would just be RNG dictating whether or not things land or don't land. Without something like this in place, it means that people essentially have to create 2 teams. It's either you have one really fucking good team that can just manual auto whatever, you didn't even need to touch the game and you're all set and ready to go. But because of how difficult the game is, what you usually are going to end up doing is creating a manual team where you can actually get a clear. And then as you get other better units for a specific piece of content, or you gear up better over time, then eventually you are going to be able to create an auto team. These 2 teams are usually not going to look very similarly, and if they do, it's because you just threw a manual team and let it go, and you suffer in hell like I am, where your clears are 100% dictated by RNG. It would just help, in my opinion, for players to be able to focus on just clearing content, and once they've cleared content, then they know that, hey, now I can actually farm this, which is a great feeling, rather than, okay, I can clear this, but I can't really farm it. If I had to give an example, like for me currently, Nico, I have to fully manual this run. I cannot auto it. It is just, the AI is just not smart enough to do the right choices, and it is such a tight fight. I'm glad to see it get slightly nerfed, but even still, I do have to manual this. And with how the drops in Inferno work, it's just endless hell, and it takes so much fucking time to sit here and manual this all day. And I do mean all day, which brings up another great point, which is the drops in Inferno, period. Inferno is such a huge spike in difficulty that it seems a bit ridiculous, in my opinion, the amount of yellow shells that you get, or the fact that they're even in Inferno pools. Realistically, the only change between farming Hell and Inferno is just the very slight chance that you now can get one of the Inferno set pieces. But because they're so difficult and the bar to entry without using a cheese team is so damn high, it means that a lot of runs are going to end up looking like this, where you have a lot of burnt stamina and you're going to get a bunch of shitty yellows that are completely dog shit worthless, unless you're planning on doing some very specific speedrun comps. This is dumb as hell, and it feels super unrewarding to finally hit this point only to get mostly yellow shells and not get very many whatsoever Inferno shells. Which of course naturally now goes into Inferno module farming, where you can get, and it is a bit misleading to actually see this, I believe it's the same with Hell 4. Yeah, let's see if it's on Hell 3 too. Yes, it is on Hell 3 too. Now after seeing all the stages and doing all the stages, logically you now understand that these are actually only showing the maximum amount of a set bonus that you can get per gear. So this doesn't show that you can actually drop 2s, but they can drop 2s, and so can Inferno. And this is my biggest problem with going into Inferno. It's again the same problem that I had with shells. The difficulty spike is enormous when you jump from Hell to Inferno, and you can get 3 set drops, you can get 2 set drops, and Inferno is the same story. It's just now you also have a chance of getting the Inferno set pieces. Because of the insane difficulty jump when it comes to Inferno difficulty, I've seen an argument that, well, of course you're going to get a bunch of junk gear, so those are just meant to be broken down, and you're only going to get a few good pieces. Well, sure, that's true, but when we look at gear, and just because of how high the difficulty on Inferno is, most people are already having to min-max their gear to get into the point of farming Inferno gear. So by the time we're at Inferno, majority of these 2 set pieces are completely fucking worthless. Like, just to use Unbreakable as an example, this is a 12-piece set. In order to either run a full 12 set and another 12 set, or to run a more meta standard, which is a 12 set and 8 set, and then one 6-piece Inferno set, there's only room for one 2-piece set item, and that is going to be a part of the 8-piece set. So if you get like a 2-piece Unbreakable, or a 2-set piece Unbreakable, it's now dog shit worthless when it comes to min-maxing for endgame builds. And I actually haven't been module farming recently, so I don't even have any examples to show you here, but the 2 sub-attribute pieces of gear that also drop from Inferno, these are more so the ones that I'm like, these are more of the junk ones that I think are fine. So 2 sub-attribute pieces means that you're going to miss out on 2 full upgrades when it comes to endgame gear. Again, the difficulty bar is so damn high that we're already having to min-max gear. So when we're now farming Inferno and we're getting these 2 sub-piece drops, they're kind of not fucking worth rolling on. You're already missing out on those 2 rolls, and that is very huge. It's a difference between, you know, potentially rolling a God roll speed piece, which would be at red, and now these 2 sub-attribute pieces of gear, the max roll they can get is, what, like purple speed? And that's only if everything rolls into speed. So these are such trash that I just trash them all. But again, I don't have as much of a problem with these. They are bad pieces of gear, but it's the fact that you can get these bad pieces of gear, and you can also get these bad pieces of gear. There's just far too much clutter and garbage in both shell and module modes that I wish that those would get retuned a bit. And if they don't retune those drops, the least they could do is drop the difficulty, especially when it comes to any newer players or any more casual players that are just going to get filtered out by this point in time. And while we're on RNG gear, let's talk about, let's see if I can find one, RNG item boxes. Here we go. There are too many fucking RNG item boxes and too many RNG rewards in general in this game, period. So this is one example in Rally. These unique points will have a chest with a random drop. This is anything from complete horseshit garbage like these reconfig modules to something fairly decent, which is stamina or a summon. The discrepancy is pretty wide though, and most of the time you're going to get one of these blues, and I'm not going to lie, most of these are kind of not that great. These are mostly all just like a single run in their respective stages. Like I think this isn't even one run in GP. I know this doesn't add up to one run in investigation. In fact, both of these together, I don't think add up to one run in investigation. Maybe the one print, sure. Unfortunately, the event is gone now, but the cubic mode is a great example where you have to like line up the little pluses to upgrade a node and then go fight the node, and then you get a little RNG scale of rewards out of a box. Like the perfect lattice is a scale from like 25 at the top and then like 2 at the bottom. It just feels really shitty when you're wasting all of your shit to upgrade the one good node that people actually want, and then it's like, oh, I can go anywhere from 2 to 25 lattice shards, and I got 2. Same deal with these event shops. In fact, I think even if you did high roll the luckiest shit in the world, you're not going to clear out these shops. But even getting the very good rewards is going to be entirely RNG dependent on whether or not you can get both, get one, or get none at all. Which then that all brings me back into Rally. These enhanced prototype fragments. I'm not going to say these need to be changed. I just wanted to say I fucking hate them. I hate all these shards bullshit. And now I was originally annoyed by this point, but I'm just going to include it in case, you know, somebody else thought I should bring it up. Speaking of which, I'm probably going to miss a lot of things that I would love to see changed, but these are the ones that I had remembered to write down. So initially this was more of a problem. Now it's not nearly as much of a problem. Getting into that is, again, like reworking rewards and how unrewarding it is to farm shells all day just so you have enough resources to upgrade one shell. But the range on reconfig models when you dismantle this shit is weird. For every one you put in, and it doesn't matter the level either, but for every one you put in, the minimum amount you get back is 4 and the max you get is 7, and then that'll go up by that same amount anytime you add 1. Again, level not mattering. So at first I was really annoyed by the fact that that is RNG as well, but now you're sitting on so many reconfig modules because you can't spend the currency to upgrade shells anyway, so it doesn't matter nearly as much now. And right now I'm about to act up. You're either really gonna hate this part or you're also in my same boat and you're gonna agree with me. Lily is fucking overtuned. She is insanely overtuned. She has way too much in one kit. She is way too game-changing. She is way too meta-defining. She's ridiculous. I had her twice in the beta, and I really just didn't understand how fucking broken she was, especially going into Inferno in all game modes. Say what you want, think what you will. It's a pure fact that the majority of content, the vast majority, it could even be something as crazy as 99% of clears when it comes to higher end content has Lily in it. This doesn't mean that all clears are done with Lily. It doesn't mean that she is optimal in literally every game mode, but it is almost every game mode. So here on hard mode of the Ember Trek, I'm stuck on the hard mode of Astarte because that's another RNG fuckfest. It's a dumbass design fight. But if we look at the recent clears, I won't even look at the fastest clears, we'll just look at recent. We'll see how many teams out of this don't have Lily. So here I can see the 20-minute clear, no Lily. And then if we scroll, sometimes it's hard to tell because people have a skin for Lily. Yeah, that is wild behavior. This is what I mean though. This is what some people end up putting themselves fucking through because they don't have Lily. This person said, and kudos to them, they said fuck this bullshit. They went for a full tank down setup where they essentially can hopefully never die and went for a 42-minute run. Holy shit. Yo, Terrorizer, I hope you're okay, man. Mental health day and all that. 42-minute run, no Lily. Okay, that's two. We're up to two now in hard mode Astarte. I'm scrolling through. Oh, damn it, that's a skin. Okay, I almost thought that was three. Two out of this entire page of recent clears do not have Lily. Let's go on to the next one. Let's go on Anti-Sync Echoes. Let's go for recent clears. Let's see. How many do not have Lily? The answer is none. Hopefully I cut that out because I wasn't talking. But there is no clears in the recent clears on Nightmare Messiah and Anti-Sync that didn't use Lily. Let's move on to the next one. We'll take a look at Rengo. There are a lot of shells that are actually going to use a lot more cheese teams, and because they're too difficult to do in a more standard team or to use your head, so you have to end up going for more cheese comp. So Rengo's a little more honest, so we'll see what we get in the recent clears here. And I did briefly scroll through it. So there's one. Oh, just the one. We got Doki. That's pretty good. And for all you Doki havers that think Doki's trash, look at that. She's used in some shit. Once she's actually has some resources dumped in there, she's pretty good, but it's the fact that she does kind of need those lattices. It is such a big boost for her. Scrolling. Almost thought that wasn't one. One team in Rengo Inferno doesn't have Lily. It's just one more. We're trying to make a point here. All right, so Terror is cheese to shit, and I think Aurora is actually one where Lily isn't always going to be the best because Aurora does kind of need so many different things. But even here, let's see how many don't have Lily. So already off the first one, no Lily. Cool. Lily. I scrolled too fast, but Lily. One. It was literally the first one on the list. There's one clear here without Lily. I actually thought there'd be a lot more without Lily in the recent clears. So I think it's clear to say that Lily is a problem. This doesn't mean you can't clear shit without Lily. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point is that Lily is just so damn strong and she's so damn flexible that she is defining pretty much the majority of teams. Most teams here aren't functioning nearly as well without Lily. They kind of have to all get shifted around a bit to function without her. Her entire kit is basically built around doubling, if not more than doubling, your DPS's output, as well as just making your entire team move a lot faster. And that means both in cooldowns and in speed. Just to recap her skills really quick, her S1 can make her DPS attack again, and this is going to vary widely on how strong this is going to be. A lot of DPSs have something pretty beneficial on their S1 that is now also going to proc just because Lily attacked and everything else was on cooldown. Her S2, AoE speed buff, turn pushes whoever she has targeted, gives them a crit damage buff, which only exists in herself and Dorothy, and maybe one other character I'm forgetting, but it is a very rare buff currently. And then her S3, it extends enemy cooldowns, it reduces all of your team's cooldowns. Like, even without any upgrades, this shit's already insane. It gets way better at 5 lattices, but still functionally is incredible on 0. There is no real replacement for her either, and I think this is one of the problems. To replace Lily or to create teams of remotely comparable strength, not to say remotely comparable clear times, that's something else entirely. You're not really going to replicate that. You need to rework pretty much entire teams that use Lily. So again, it's not a problem that content isn't clearable without Lily. Some might genuinely be, I don't know. I'm definitely not at that point yet. But it is vastly easier and way less specific to do it like this. And in the long run, you're going to save yourself so many resources having Lily. Think of all the teams you have to build for all of these different pieces of content. At least in my case, when you don't have Lily, you have to build out so many different units, and you have to try things that may or may not work out for you. Whereas with the Lily comp, for almost all teams, you're still going to at least have that one set character that you don't have to dump resources into, and because you have that one character, you now don't have to look at all these other alternative methods to try and replicate what she does for a team. And of course, this is going to change from piece of content to the next piece of content, because it's all like very elemental based, whereas Lily is neutral. So again, you don't need to worry about reflexively changing her in when you move her into different comps, but when it comes to everybody else, you now have to build out a blue unit, a green unit, a red unit, and then other ones to also fill in all of those different roles that she might have already been doing for a team. And to drive it home further, I'm just going to tell you that this stretches into everything. I was mythic, I could show real quick here. I got my mythic lattice for the season yesterday, and then was immediately booted out because I do not belong there. But I was able to brute force it, you know, with the team. But also, I never have my defense team geared. So, but not the point. The point I was going to say is that pretty much once you're at a high enough rank, all these defense teams have Lily. It doesn't matter. It's Lily across the board. And because it's Lily across the board, I'm not saying that you can't hold your place in mythic without Lily, but and it's not important either. But the point is she's widespread. She's everywhere. She's fucking everywhere. So yes, if you couldn't tell, I hate Lily because I don't have her. Because not everybody is going to have her. And I don't like the idea of literally any game to just be like, well, just reroll for this character because they just define the game, which she absolutely defines the game. As somebody now who is pushing into hard Ember Trek, who is into the final stage of Ethernet Rally, who is pushing into the last stretch of Anti-Sync Echoes, who is pushing into these different Inferno stages, Shells maybe not as much, but myself and other people who are pushing into these endgame modes without Lily, it is just getting increasingly frustrating and annoying to have to try out all these different teams and build out all these different characters you don't have resources for to at least get a shot at clearing something that would at least be a little easier had you just had Lily. Not sure if I'm going to include this because it's already getting too long, but like a character like Viper. He's a character I think was going to help push me in a lot of different modes right now and is going to be very useful. But I just don't have enough lattices to end up pushing him up where he needs to be. Why? Because I've had to already push other characters to get me into different modes. And some of them I just wanted to have fun with. That's the problem. I can't just do things for the fun of it because now I'm also setting my account back, which looking at my max S2 Dorothy gets me into my last point, and that is that lattices resources are far too scarce. And I guess I'm mostly meaning lattices because for most other things you can get by without more prints and XP and GP, but perfect lattices, I don't know the exact math. I'll try and look over it real quick right now. So 15 in the Union shop, 1 in the Summon shop, which most if not all free-to-plays are not going to be able to get this every month. 1 a week in the Arena shop. 1 a month in the RTA shop. And then we don't know how the Ember Trek is going to reset every month. So I'm going to include it here just for being completely transparent. We'll see how many you get. You get 1 for clearing the normal, and then another 1 for clearing it in hard. And then in Rally, shards are going to be RNG dependent. I don't think you're really ever going to get an entire lattice out of this, but we can say, be nice and say half a lattice every month that this goes on. So in total, being nice, we get 9 total lattices if you get the one in the summon shop and the trek resets, and I threw in an extra one a month for events, because I would assume that we get at least one of those in events. 9 a month, which sounds not that bad. That is 2 maxed out skills and then 1 extra. Again, not too shabby. But this feeds into a pro and a con. A pro is summons. We actually get a pretty good amount of summons week to week, you know, and probably going on month to month. We get quite a few summons, at least the standard ones, not so much the LD. This means eventually, at least for RGB, and then depending on your luck, some LDs as well, you're going to end up getting a lot of the characters. Most of them. Maybe not all, but a lot of them. This will be harder to determine considering we've only had 2, technically 3 banners come out since the launch of the game. But if it continues in this trend where we are going to get 2 units, then 1 unit, then 2 units again, this means at the very least we're looking at just under a month, but we'll just say a month just to make it cleaner. We're getting 3 characters a month. 1 you can exclude because it's an LD, but the other 2 are RGBs and they need lattices, and already you probably have a lot of characters that need lattices now as well. So let's look at 2 of the recent units that came out. Here, let's first start with Holden. I love him. He's designed very well. I like him a lot. I like his kit entirely. I did make a mistake with him, which is a problem because these resources are so scarce. You can't make mistakes ever. My mistake was maxing out his S3. He doesn't really need it. It is definitely still helpful and useful, especially since I didn't build Viper, and so I'm kind of having to use him where I need strips. But realistically, he needs his Dispel chance primarily. And because he needs just this primarily, that's 2 more lattices I could have used elsewhere, where I'm definitely needing it. But to make him viable, at least when it comes to PvE, this isn't even a talk about PvP. If we want to talk about skilling up for PvP, you're completely fucked. But at least for PvE, luckily, he's at least a unit that didn't need a whole lot. He essentially needed 3, and then he could use a lot more in other things, like making his counter more useful and more consistent. But then let's look at another character that came out in the same month. You know, if you happen to get lucky or unlucky, whoever you want to count yourself among, I pulled on the standard LD banners, and I pulled the LE, so I mean, cool. Wasn't exactly pleased about it, but it beats getting I think my final dupe in Shadow Sonya. Yep, final dupe. I just need 1 more and Shadow Sonya's maxed. But staying on track, Yeli is a character who needs a lot of lattices. She needs, as I stated in my video before, she needs at least 7 in my opinion. Other people are going to say something else, like yes, she definitely is going to benefit a lot from getting her skill 3 leveled up, but I don't think it's nearly as crucial. In my opinion, she needs at least 7 to functionally work as one of your DPSs, or at least function on a similar level to other characters you might already have. 7. And again, I was being generous in my estimation in saying that we get 9 a month. That's 7 of it gone right there for 1 character. That's not even to count on the characters you already have. I have a Borneo I really want to build for PvP. I cannot afford the lattices to put into him. I have a Doki who I would love to build and help push me in PvE. She needs so many lattices, and I don't have the lattices to put into her and give her a shot. I got lucky in some of my crash out summons that happen from time to time trying to get Lily. I pulled a Mio. Great, she's a fantastic unit. I do not have the lattices to help build her out and make her functional in my teams. Holden, I did have enough to at least bump up his S3 at some point because I needed it at that moment for whatever content. Well, I didn't need to, but I wanted to because I like Holden. I like him as a character. He's really cool. I love to work on all of his other stuff and throw him into a team and have some fun in some RTA. But the lattices just don't exist. And for a lot of characters, especially as we get deeper into the game and more people are going to have a heavier focus on PvP, we can look at here. There are speed nodes tied to their prowesses, and sometimes for a lot of characters in prowesses that they don't really need. This is a whole 15 speed right here. That is what, like the minimum roll on 1 max roll piece of gear that rolled into speed? Let me check. I have 1 pretty lucky piece. All right, I don't know the exact ranges, but it's around a gold to a red roll in 1 piece of gear. This is a lot. That's a lot of speed. That is a lot of speed. So now for characters to start functioning into PvP, this system is going to continuously get more and more pay to win as the pool widens and the lattices continue to grow thinner and thinner. So yes, I don't know a perfect resolution to the Lattice situation. Part of what could potentially alleviate this is the in-between RTA seasons, which is really fucking far off, but if you want to look ahead, what is this, 3 months? 3 more months, so like 4 months in total? There is a potential that when they say they're going to shake things up, you know, they're going to completely rebalance a lot of characters, you know, maybe change how strong some characters are, bring other people up so that way, you know, help diversify and change up RTA to make it a little more fresh and interesting. There is at least a chance that they will be giving out resets, or at least some form of a reset event in between the seasons. This would be nice. I think maybe if we don't make the RTA season shorter, that we at least make these more regular. I'm not saying that I want these weekly or anything like that, but I do think that that could potentially help some people. It's just kind of a band-aid solution though when it comes to progression, and especially when it comes to newer players, as they're more so going to have those problems probably when those reset events aren't around. I don't think necessarily just giving out more lattices is going to solve the issue while also still trying to create a nice balance of this scarce resource. So I think that's a tough balancing act for them to potentially balance going forward, but I hope they at least consider it. I think I've rambled enough, and I think I've probably made enough people angry with maybe at least one of these points. Just know that that's just the theme of this video. These are things I would like to see change, and things that in general I think are tuned kind of poorly. But I wouldn't even bother making this video if I didn't enjoy the game and if I didn't like the game. I'd like to see it prosper, but I don't think issues like what I've mentioned can continue to at least grow going forward into the future. Eventually people are going to start hitting some breaking points and not really want to put up with a lot of it, really. But anyways, thank you everybody for watching. As always, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.